Sounds kind of crazy unless you win the lottery or something, right? But there's a strategy that can potentially get you there. It's called overemployment. This means working multiple remote jobs at once to massively increase your income, then using that extra income to fast track your financial freedom. So, let's talk about system number one, the overemployment mindset. And what this basically is offense over frugality, right? The first thing you need is a mindset shift. The traditional FIRE, which stands for financial independence, retire early advice, basically says scrimp and save for decades. Skip the lattes, bike to work, live ultra frugally so you can retire maybe in 15 to 20 years? That's playing defense. Overemployment is all about playing offense, boosting your income aggressively instead of just pinching pennies. The truth is, the biggest barrier to retiring early isn't the occasional coffee, it's that most people simply aren't saving enough and aren't earning enough. The typical FIRE herd mentality is one job and one median income, which makes hitting financial independence painfully slow. And we're not going to be doing that. We're going to brute force our way to FIRE by making a lot more money in a short amount of time. Embracing multiple income streams, right? So how do you do this? You're going to add multiple extra full-time jobs. Yes, plural. Think of yourself as a startup. You. A startup that wants to double its revenue doesn't do it by clipping coupons, it does it by finding a new income stream. In your case, that means a second or even third salary, right? So you don't want to assume that you can only earn from one job. That's your biggest downfall there. Overemployed people break that rule and get paid twice or more for the price of one person's time. It's taboo to some, sure. Critics might call it unethical or wage theft, but let's get real. Companies have no problem laying you off without warning or squeezing every drop of productivity out of you. You don't owe them lifelong loyalty to a single paycheck. Having two jobs isn't illegal. It might violate some maybe HR policy, but it's not against the law, so yeah. So the overemployment mindset is about prioritizing your financial freedom over outdated corporate norms. You have to be bold, a little sneaky, and very disciplined. This isn't about cheating your employers, it's about recognizing that playing by the old rules won't make you rich. As one overemployed advocate put it, why play life on hard mode when you can double your income and get ahead? Embrace the idea that multiple income streams are your ticket to retiring in 5 years. So, system number 2, stacking remote jobs, how to double or even triple your income. So right now you're mentally on board. Now let's talk about getting those multiple jobs, right? The good news is that remote work has exploded, especially in tech and other white-collar fields. So during the pandemic, the proportion of people working from home nearly doubled, and companies got comfortable with remote hiring. This created a perfect opportunity. You can interview for a second full-time remote job and not quit your first. That's the essence of overemployment. In fact, many overemployed workers are in tech roles because these jobs are high-paying, project-based, and often loosely supervised. But it's not just tech. Any job you can do from a computer with flexible scheduling is a potential candidate for overemployment. So, how do you land job number 2 and maybe number 3? It's essentially the same way you got job number 1. Update your resume, apply, ace the interview, repeat. If your resume is not working, right, you apply again, you work on it more, you see what's going wrong, you can talk to HR recruiters and see why your resume isn't essentially going through. And yeah, that's essentially the whole game of overemployment, right? Your resume is your ticket to getting interviews. If you don't have a good resume, you won't get the interview. So if you guys want to check out the custom tailored resume, check out the link in the description below and I can help you make a resume that's guaranteed to get you interviews. Anyways, the whole plan is update your resume, apply, and then ace the interview. The only twist here is that when that offer comes, don't resign from your original job. One overemployed worker described the strategy in simple terms. Interview like normal, get the job, and then forget to quit your first job. Boom, now you got 2 paychecks coming in. It's exactly what an overemployed individual that I worked with did. He realized that after a company layoff scare that he could hold down 2 tech jobs at once, raising his salary from $160,000 to $340,000 overnight. So you gotta kind of think about that, right? More than doubling your income instantly. And he's not alone, right? There's a whole community out there, as you know, from this channel, from the Overemployed Reddit. Like, we're taking over now. So you gotta learn that people who started juggling full-time jobs do this to pay off student loans, save for early retirement, and just afford a better lifestyle. If you can manage to get hired for one extra role, you've completed the most important step of this plan. You've dramatically increased your earning power. So now, let's talk about a key tip here, right? Is to target jobs that are truly remote and have output-based performance. You want roles where you're measured more on results than a constant real-time collaboration. Why is this? Because if both jobs demand you be meeting 6 hours a day, you're toast. Look for companies known for flexibility or managers who aren't micromanaging every single second. Many overemployed workers seek out low oversight positions for their additional jobs. And if your current job is already a heavy burden for meetings, consider making that the one you eventually leave and keep the easier job. You have to be strategic about the kind of work that fits an overemployment lifestyle. System number 3. So now you have to master the juggle, right? You gotta stay under the radar and obviously sane. Working 2 full-time jobs often means long hours and can lead to stress or burnout if you're not careful. I can't stress that enough, right? So some overemployed folks admit they're grinding from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. on weekdays, essentially putting in a 12+ hour day split between 2 roles. In the short term, you might sacrifice a bit of sleep, social life, or hobbies, but that's the brute force part of the strategy. You were hustling hard for a few years, but the key here is to manage it smartly so you don't burn out before you reach the finish line. Think of overemployment as a marathon and not a sprint. You're in it to finish the race and get to financial freedom, not to collapse after a frantic start. And to survive here, to juggle 2 or more jobs, you need tactics and discipline. The first rule is to keep everything separated. That means separating laptops, separating logins, and maybe even separate phone lines for each job. You don't want to get too lazy and try to do all the work on one machine, right? Companies often install monitoring software, so you don't want job A's IT department seeing you log into job B's systems, right? Use different browsers, different desktop speeds, multiple monitors, whatever it takes. Many experienced overemployed workers swear by this separation as a vital safety measure. It's basic operational security for your double life here. Next, something very important that people overlook is honor the calendars. A classic screw up would be to double book yourself into 2 Zoom meetings or 2 Microsoft Teams meetings at the same time, and that's a recipe for disaster. To avoid that, you can block off time on one job's calendar to make it look like you're busy when you have critical meetings for the other job. Use your phone's calendar app to kind of cross-check all your commitments, right? Make a schedule, just keep track of everything. The goal is to never let one employer realize you're not 100% available because of the other job. If you manage your schedule you can often avoid conflicts entirely. Also, be smart about your meeting load. If job number 1 is super meeting heavy, try to get job number 2 that's more independent or has asynchronous work. Some overemployed people specifically choose roles like software development or writing or analysis where they can quietly work on their own most of the day rather than a constant team check-in. Another crucial skill is learning to do the minimum effective work at each job. I know a lot of you always want to put in the most work and do the most you can just to kind of stick out, but we're not really doing that here. This isn't about slacking, it's about efficiency. You want both bosses to feel like you're doing fine, but you're not striving for Employee of the Year awards at either place. Remember, good enough is good enough because your aim is to collect paychecks, not promotions. In the overemployed community, people often talk about keeping managers' expectations low. Do solid work, but don't volunteer for every project or respond to emails at midnight. That just trains them to expect too much of your time. It's a balancing act, right? You need to perform well enough to stay employed and fly under the radar, but never shine so brightly that folks start digging into how you're managing your time. Now let's kind of talk about the human factor here, right? Stress, ethics, juggling multiple careers can be mentally taxing. You have to be okay with a bit of lying by omission. Your bosses and coworkers won't know what you're really up to. Some people initially feel guilty or anxious about that, but many overemployed workers say that that feeling fades once you realize that both jobs are getting what they paid for. As long as you're meeting employer expectations, there's no need to feel guilt. You're not stealing anything. Still, the stress of keeping a streaky life can add pressure. One person described having a panic attack on day one of 2 jobs, then gathering themselves and powering through it. It gets easier with time, especially as you build routines. So now let's kind of talk about avoiding burnout, right? You want to set boundaries hard. Remember, the concept of a Sabbath or rest day, you need time off. You might be grinding weekdays, but keeping your weekends sacred or at least one day to recharge. Don't let both job schedules keep you consistent for overtime. Enforce quitting times each day. For example, decide that after 6 or 7 you're done with any job tasks, period. Having strict start or stop times, taking short breaks to eat and move around, and even sneaking in a workout or family time is obviously important. If you let work bleed into all hours, you will flame out so fast, and that helps no one. Overemployment is sustainable only if you treat yourself like a valuable asset, because you are one. Take care of your mental and physical health so you can go the distance. It's like oxygen max on a plane, right? You take care of yourself first, or you won't be able to do the work that funds your dream. And finally, be prepared to take risks. The reality is you could get caught. People have been fired when a boss discovered they were moonlighting full-time elsewhere. To minimize that risk, keep a low profile. Don't brag about your 2 jobs on LinkedIn or social media. In fact, going ghost on LinkedIn is wise. Be cautious about who you confide in. Probably don't tell them or your work friends or even too many real life friends unless you absolutely trust them, but I would recommend not telling anyone. Maybe your parents, maybe your significant other, but other than that, that's it. Usually it's best if no one at work knows you have another gig, right? And if you do this right, each employer just sees a regular employee doing their job. You get to quietly collect 2 paychecks. Yes, it's a bit of a double life, but the payoff can be huge. System number 4, the financial freedom formula. Save and invest aggressively. So now, you should be earning double income, right? Or more. Great. But high income alone does not equal retirement. What you do with that money is the real game changer. The overemployment plan to retire in 5 years hinges on a simple formula. Live on one job's income and save 100% of the others. For example, let's say each of your jobs pays $100,000, right? If you keep your lifestyle such that you can cover all your expenses with the $100,000 from job 1, then every dollar from job 2 and job 3, if you have it, can be banked. That could be $100K or $200K saved per year. Most people can't save that in 5 years, let alone one, with a single job. This is where the magic happens. One financial blogger ran the numbers. Without overemployment, saving $50K a year from a single $100K job would take 20 years to accumulate $1 million, not even counting investment growth. But with 2 extra jobs, now you're saving $200,000 a year. You'd hit that same $1 million in just 5 years. That's quadruple the speed. The math does not lie. Income is the accelerator for reaching financial independence. Now, saving that money is only step 1. You also need to invest it wisely. That's how you truly build wealth and passive income. So, what do you invest in? The specifics are up to you, right? Some people stick with index funds, stocks, others buy rental properties, some even buy into businesses. A simple, effective approach is to plow your savings into broad stock, index funds, or ETFs, which historically return around 7 to 8% annually on average. The overemployed community often mentions index funds, real estate, and other appreciating assets as the go-to choices. The idea is to build a portfolio that generates passive income, dividends, rental income, etc. And one overemployed worker who'd been doing this since 2017 shared that he accumulated about $1 million in financial assets, generating roughly $100,000 per year in passive income. That's in addition to his job income, right? But it shows the end game. Eventually, your investments start earning serious money on their own, which can totally replace the need for a paycheck. So, aiming to retire, you might need a certain FI number, and often it's 25 times your annual expenses, the classic 4% of retirement. For instance, if you need $50,000 a year to live, you'd want to be at 1.25 million invested to safely retire on. With overemployment, you can realistically hit these numbers in a very short amount of time if you're disciplined. Saving 6 figures per year plus investment growth means your nest egg snowballs fast. In a half a decade of grinding, you can potentially reach coast fire or even a fat fire territory. Coast fire means you've saved enough that even if you stop adding new savings, your investments will go to fund a traditional retirement by the time you're older. Fat fire means having a big fat stack of cash, enough to live up in retirement with well above a bare bones budget. With the kind of money overemployers can earn and save, some even hit a comfortable FI in under 5 years. And with a couple more years, they can achieve a truly wealthy retirement portfolio. And the exact timeline depends on your expenses, total income, and market performance. But the bottom line is you will leap years ahead of the normal timeline by tripling your savings rate. The plan is to create an engine. Your extra job income goes through investments that generate more income. It's a virtuous cycle, or as once called it, a turbo boost to reach FI. And one beautiful thing here is that unlike the extreme frugality approach, you don't have to live like a monk while doing this, right? Because you're essentially adding an entire or even third salary to your finances. You can afford to enjoy life on your primary income, even as you save the rest. Overemployment lets you have your cake and eat it too. As the OE community likes to say, you can go on that vacation, dine out occasionally, take care of your family guilt-free because you know your plan is still on track. You're not derailing your future by spending a portion of one salary since the other salary is making sure your future is secured. This makes the journey a lot more pleasant than the typical FIRE person eating rice and beans every single night. By all means, be smart and avoid lifestyle creep, right? Don't start blowing all or even both your incomes, right? Because you don't need to deprive yourself of every little joy. With careful planning, overemployment can fund a great life now and an even better life later. So, System 5, the last system, is the 5-year exit, reaching the work optimal freedom. If you follow the plan, multiple jobs, sustaining juggling, aggressive saving and investing, you'll wake up one day, few years from now, in a totally different financial position. So what does retiring look like at that point? For many, it means simply becoming more work optimal. You'll have the FU money to call the shots. Maybe you'll even quit working entirely at, let's say, 30, 35, or 40 years old. That's an option. Others might even take a more flexible view. You can drop the extra jobs and keep just one low-stress job, or take a long sabbatical route, You might even decide to start a business or work on passion projects with the financial cushion you built. The point is, you'll be free from the rat race and no longer dependent on a single employer's paycheck to live on. One 25-year-old who pursued overemployment said her goal was to become work optimal, not necessarily never work again, but to have the freedom to take breaks or choose jobs she actually enjoys without worrying about money. That's a profound change in quality of life. And by this time, you'll also have options to reduce stress. If juggling 2 jobs gets too much, guess what? You can quit one and still be fine financially. Some overemployment folks in their 50s say they plan to ride this out until retirement, meaning they'll keep dual-wielding incomes for a few more years and then hang it up for good. Others might scale it back earlier once they've hit a comfortable number. The flexibility is yours. Also, having 2 jobs for a while can ironically make you feel more secure. For example, one overemployed woman in her 50s made about $300,000 from 2 IT jobs. When one job laid her off, she still had the others to fall back on, and she quickly found a new second gig anyways. So even on that journey, there's a sense of safety and redundancy. You're no longer living under the sword of, what if I got fired from one job? You have a backup income at all times. When you finally reach your financial independence target, take a moment to appreciate what you've done. In the last 5 years, which will have flown by, right? You've achieved what most people achieved in 30 plus years or are grinding for. You've beat the system. You've leveraged the new rules of remote work to reclaim decades of your life. Now it's up to you on how to use that freedom. Maybe you keep working one job because you genuinely enjoy it, but you do it on your own terms. Maybe you travel the world knowing your index funds are generating passive income back home. Maybe you volunteer again to passion projects that don't necessarily pay well, but it's fine because you're financially free. The whole point of retiring early or being work optimal is to live a life on your own terms. Money becomes a tool for you, not a leash. And at this stage, some people also find their relationship with work changes. You might discover that with the financial pressure gone, you actually enjoy working more because you only do the work you like. Or you might decide that work is overrated and spend your time in leisure or with loved ones. There's no right or wrong answer here because you've earned the choice. And that's what this is about, right? It's really about choice. Overemployment is a means to an end. An intense, unconventional means, no doubt, but one that can deliver results faster than anything else out there. By taking on the challenge of multiple jobs for a few years, you effectively buy yourself decades of freedom. And that's the whole goal of overemployment. So the conclusion here, retiring in 5 years with overemployment is not easy. It's not for everyone. It takes a certain boldness and willingness to break the norm, as well as a serious hustle. You will face long days, secrecy, and maybe even raise some eyebrows if people did find out. But it's a trade-off, a 5-year sprint for a lifetime of freedom. And thousands of ordinary people are already doing it, right? Quietly, proving that it can be done. If you're sitting at your one remote job, feeling underutilized or underpaid, this might just be your invitation to double up and take charge of your financial future. Remember, your life, your rules. Overemployment is about being the CEO of your own career and using that power to design the life that you want. Retiring early isn't just for the ultra rich or the ultra frugal. It could be for you if you're willing to work 2 times harder now and live 10 times better later. Your future self will thank you for it. Now go forth and crush this thing. We'll see you on a beach in 5 years, answering to no one but yourself. If you guys want, book a one-on-one coaching call below. I'll answer any questions you may have. And yeah, check out the masterclass below if you guys want a course on how to become overemployed. I'll see you guys in the next video.